The year was 1919. The Great War had just ended, and with it, the world entered into a new era full of potential. You see, World War I was the first war to use air power in a major way, and the airships did worse than expected. Planes had proven to be more impressive, but there was still hope the airship could be turned into a formidable force, as the great powers all used different strategies to try and make them take off.
Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. They enchant all the ladies and steal all the scenes with their up to the up, and their down to the down. Up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground. They're rightfully keen, those magnificent men in their flying machines.
Germany had been the first to use airships, with General Count von Zeppelin's Zeppelin company being the best in the world. The Germans used these in World War I to bomb Britain, with moderate effect. After the war, the Treaty of Versailles mandated that Germany couldn't build more airships, and had to give up her Zeppelins to France and Italy. This angered the German aircrew, who hated the French. They proceeded to have a mutiny and illegally destroyed all the Zeppelins before the enemy could get them. Around this time, General Zeppelin died, which put the company in an even more tricky spot. Airship pilot Hugo Echner was appointed to fill his role, but it was unknown if he could fill up a task as difficult as saving the Zeppelin company. France had been Germany's main competitor in airship development, though they used very different models. To oversimplify, if an airship has a metal skeleton, it's a Zeppelin. If it doesn't, it's a blimp. Germany and America preferred Zeppelins, while France, Italy, Britain, and Russia preferred blimps. The French airships weren't very effective during the war, but they got a new lease on life with all the dirigibles that were yoinked from the Germans. In 1923, the French Dix Munde blew up over the Mediterranean and killed all 50 of the crew. After this incident, the French decided to phase out airships, and they were all gone by 1926. The French decision that airships didn't work, mixed with fading anger from World War I, gave Hugo Echner the perfect opportunity. He managed to convince the great powers to let Zeppelin build airships again, using them as a propaganda piece for the new, peaceful German Republic. The Italians had generally followed the French lead in regards to airships, though they continued to utilize them for a few years after the French. Mussolini had the really good idea to send an Italian airship over the North Pole, showcasing the greatness of Italy. It crashed and killed 7 people. After this debacle, Italy retired airships, and Poland would soon follow by retiring their singular blimp. The British lagged behind the other powers. They had attempted to achieve airships in both the 1900s and 1910s, and in both cases, it failed. They would try again in the 20s and built 2 airships, the R-100 and the R-101. The goal was to use these to unite the Empire together. The R-101 proceeded to blow up on its first flight, killing 48 people and ending the British airship program.
Hello everybody in England. All I can say is that we shall be very glad to all get back, and we hope to be back tomorrow. And the only sad thing about it is that we can't bring everybody else with us. But we hope that our chums who are in hospital still will soon be back with us. The others, I'm afraid, are beyond.
In America, the Zeppelin company made a deal with Goodyear Rubber in order to make airships under the name Goodyear. These ones were Zeppelins like in Germany, and they were filled by helium instead of hydrogen. Helium was safer than hydrogen, but it was also rarer. When the USS Shenandoah was launched in 1922, it held the majority of the world's helium supply. Despite helium being safer, the US would be hit by crash after crash. First up, in 1925, the USS Shenandoah was blown to bits in a thunderstorm, leaving 14 dead. Next up, in 1933, the Archon would crash over sea during a thunderstorm. This would kill 73 people, making it the deadliest crash ever. Later, in 1935, the Macron would slowly lose pressure, leading to it descending down and becoming unusable. After losing all three of its Zeppelins, the US gave up on airships for good. Actually, they tried again in the Afghan war for some reason, and they didn't work very well. By the 1930s, most of the great powers had given up on airships. The only one still going was Germany. This was in big part due to Hugo Echner, CEO of Zeppelin. He managed to turn his Graf airships into a symbol of pride for Weimar Germany, and was one of the top candidates to become president before losing the nomination to the Hindenburg. General Hindenburg, that is. Zeppelin seemed to have a bright future ahead. And then the Nazis showed up. Echner was a vocal opponent of the Nazis, so when they came to power, they knew they had to get rid of him. They forced him out and filled Zeppelin with yes-men from the Nazi Party who had little to no experience with airships. Hitler realized the propaganda potential of these airships and greenlit the construction of a new one, larger than anything seen before. He dubbed it the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg left a lot to be desired, and was noted for being MacGyver-y in nature, and having a number of questionable design choices. The Nazi officials put in charge of it had conflicting visions that led to awkward compromises, while the Americans refused to sell helium to Germany, forcing them to use hydrogen. Attempting to deploy an airship like this would be extremely risky. Despite this, it was approved for air travel. Its first flight would be in 1936, during the remilitarization of the Rhineland. It flew over the Rhineland and dropped propaganda leaflets before almost crashing. Not a great start. The Hindenburg would then fly over the Berlin Olympics and the Nuremberg Rally before making international trips to show the might of Germany. The most famous of these was on May 6, 1937. The Hindenburg was rushed to perform a flight to the US so it could be ready for a later trip to take guests to the King of England's coronation. At 7:25, the Hindenburg tried to land, only to face an unexpected buildup of static electricity. The tail caught on fire, which quickly spread to the rest of the airship. The airship came crashing down in a ball of fire. Most of the passengers survived, however its crash right as it was landing led to it being recorded on both film and radio. These recordings were played in movie theaters, turning the story into an international sensation.
400 or 500 feet into the sky. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the frame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. Oh, the humanity.
Most say the Hindenburg crash was the end to the golden age of airships. Frankly, I question if there ever was a golden age of airships. They were always a deeply inefficient form of flight, prone to regular crashes. Their real use being to appear in propaganda. The airship always was the technology of tomorrow, until it became the trinket of yesterday.